name is Kat, and today I have some book reviews for you. So I have 6 books to talk about today, 6 books that I have recently completed, and 3 of them are pretty big, like over 500 pages. So I've been having a pretty good reading time lately. That 24-hour readathon I did really helped me out. So good thing there's another readathon starting real soon. In the meantime, I have these 6 books to talk about, so I'm gonna do that now. Let's go. So first up, I have here The Golden Compass by Philip Pullman, also known as The Northern Lights, or the first book in the His Dark Materials trilogy. This was the Booksplosion Book of the Month pick for June. We are working with Random House on this one. They're doing a summer read-along of the entire trilogy in preparation for the release of the next book in the series, which is called The Book of Dust. It's coming out this fall. So Booksplosion was helping to kick off this read-along with book 1. This series follows the journey of a young girl named Lyra. Her uncle is involved in politics and research and experiments up north, and she is really fascinated by what he's doing, but he won't allow her to go with him, and he won't really tell her much about what's going on. However, when her best friend is kidnapped and taken north, she decides to go after him, and she finds herself right in the middle of the action, playing a much bigger role than she anticipated. This was actually a reread for me. I first read this back in the day when I was a youngin', and when I say back in the day, I mean like a good 18 years ago. I loved it when I read it back then, and I loved it this read around too. It's a bit on the slow side, but it's so worth it. It's such a fascinating world and a really well-constructed story, and it's very sophisticated. Like, it doesn't spoon feed the reader information or talk down to the reader at all. Like, it trusts that you're smart enough to be thrown into this world and keep up with it, and I loved that. The live show discussion for this book has actually already taken place, so I will link that down below. We had a really great discussion, so if you guys want to know some more spoilery thoughts on this book, definitely check that out. But yeah, I'm really glad that I finally reread this, and I actually never read books 2 and 3 back in the day, so I'm really excited to continue on with the series, and I'll hopefully be all caught up and ready for book 4 when it comes out this fall. Next up, I have here Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Seanan McGuire. This is a follow-up to Every Heart a Doorway, though it's more of a prequel than a sequel because it takes place before. I would definitely recommend starting with Every Heart a Doorway, though. So the first book, Every Heart a Doorway, primarily takes place at this boarding school of sorts that is for children who have slipped into a fantasy world and had amazing adventures and then somehow found themselves back in the real world. And they're struggling with, reality. Relatable. So in book 1, we're at this boarding school and we meet a bunch of characters and learn a little bit about what their fantasy worlds were like. In this book, we actually get to see one of those worlds and one of those stories. We take kind of a deep dive into 2 characters' backstories, and we really get to learn all about them and the fantasy world that they went to. I adore these books. I'm just obsessed with the premise and also the writing. I love the writing. They're very short books. They're actually novellas, not novels. But this author conveys so much with so few words. Like, the impact of each sentence is just, it blows me away. Now, they're definitely more character-based than plot-based, so if you're looking for like a super gripping, intense plot, probably not the books for you. But if you're looking for something character-driven that is magical and whimsical and dark and beautiful, then I absolutely recommend this series to you because it's fantastic. The next 2 books I have here are A Gathering of Shadows and A Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab. These are books 2 and 3 in the Shades of Magic trilogy, with the first book being A Darker Shade of Magic. Now, because these are books 2 and 3, I can't really get into plot details, but I will link my reviews video with book 1 down below, so you can check that out. I've considered Victoria Schwab to be one of my favorite authors for a while now, but this was her first like real series finale. And I'm always super picky with series finales, so I was nervous going into this book. But I'm happy to say that this was such a good finale. I'm not totally surprised because Victoria has written some very strong standalones before. So like I knew she could nail an ending, but this was just, it's gotta be one of the best series finales I've ever read. Now, Victoria's books do usually have slower beginnings. Like she spends a lot of time laying things out and building things up. And to me, that's not at all a negative because she utilizes that fully. There's a lot of buildup, but we have so much payoff and it feels so like well earned. I think A Conjuring of Light is my favorite Victoria Schwab book yet. I think. A Gathering of Shadows was excellent, but it did feel more middle book. Like this book still had a good amount of build up for this book, and like this book we got all the payoff. So this is my fave of the series for sure, and maybe my favorite Victoria book of all time. I don't know, Vicious was really good. And I also read The Savage Song and Our Dark Duet by Victoria Schwab. In the world of this duology, violent actions cause literal monsters to form. The story takes place in the city that is divided. One side is controlled by this military operation that hunts down the monsters, and the other side is ruled by essentially this mob boss who found a way to control the monsters and now charges the citizens for protection. We follow two main characters. One is a girl named Kate, who is the daughter of the mob boss. And then on the other side, we have August, who is a monster, but he doesn't want to be one, and he hunts other monsters. August and Kate end up meeting, and you know, chaos and shenanigans ensue from there. I loved this duology. Now, I said that A Conjuring of Light was probably my favorite Victoria Schwab book of all time, but this is probably my fave Victoria Schwab series of all time. Like, this duology was so good. The characters, the writing, the story, the world. I think the world is my favorite aspect. Like, these two books are satisfying completely on their own, but I could 100% go for more books set in this world. Like, we don't necessarily need to have any of the same characters or the same city in this world. Like, I want more of this world. Like, I need more of this world. With these 4 books, Victoria Schwab has 100% earned herself a spot on my list of favorite authors of all time. If you haven't read either of these series yet, then you could really go with either one first. Like, they're both fantastic. I think personally I did enjoy the duology a little bit better, but objectively I feel like this trilogy is stronger overall. A Conjuring of Light is just like, it's next level. It was an amazing finale. Honestly though, like, you can't really go wrong with either series. All right, I think that is just about it for this video today. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a great night, and I will have another video up soon. So I will see you then. Goodbye!